Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the fifth commencement of the Franklin W. Olin College of Engineering. To open our ceremony, we will observe a moment of remembrance. You are invited to remain silent and reflect in your own way on the values of our community and on those no longer with us, especially Matthew William Bowes, a member of the class of 2010, and Michael E. Moody, former Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dean of Faculty, and F.W. Olin Professor of Mathematics. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce the president of Olin College, Dr. Richard K. Miller.
Welcome. Welcome to the fifth commencement ceremony. Isn't it a beautiful day? This has just been terrific. And this is the first time in Olin's long history that we've had a commencement ceremony that was not on a day that was predicted for rain. So we're going to take that and run with it for the entire ceremony. I want to recognize and welcome several of our distinguished guests who are here on the platform today, including founding and current trustees of Olin College, President Lynn Schlesinger of Babson College, Provost Andy Shannon from Wellesley College, and members of the President's Cabinet. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the F.W. Olin Foundation once again for their vision and generosity which established this institution and ultimately made possible this day of celebration and achievement for the class of 2010. Will you join me now in thanking the Foundation for their generosity? I also want to extend a personal welcome and thank you to our commencement speaker, the Honorable Kathleen Stevens, the U.S. Ambassador of the Republic of Korea. She will be called to the podium later in the program, but I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Kathy, for flying halfway around the world, literally, to New England from Seoul during a very tense period in the history of the Korean Peninsula. As someone whose career has repeatedly contributed to the world peace and stability, we're particularly honored to have you with us today, and also as the mother of James Huang, Olin class of 2009 and a former member of our Parents Advisory Board, we know you understand us from the inside as a member of our family. This is the first commencement speaker at Olin with this perspective. Now to the class of 2010. I'm sure you know the commencement speeches were invented largely in the belief that outgoing college students should never be released into the world until they've been properly sedated. So I'll do my part to get this done. When you arrived in the fall of 2006, Olin had not yet been accredited. I'm sure that didn't escape your attention. While we had offered and completed our academic program exactly once in our history, a great deal of uncertainty still remained. And like classes that came before you, you were risk takers in the best sense. In spite of this, or perhaps because of it, your class has already set a number of records of achievement here at Olin. For example, 3 members of this class received Fulbright scholarships to study abroad next year. That's a larger number than any in the past. And 35% of the class has been accepted into graduate school, including 8 of the top 10 engineering schools in the US, including, for example, Caltech, MIT, Stanford, Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, and many others. 3 members of this class, as opposed to 2 in a previous class, have been accepted directly into Harvard Business School this year. And these are all records for Olin College for a graduating class at the time of commencement, and we're all extremely proud of you. Also, we're pleased that this spring to learn that 7 more Olin students and alumni were selected in the national competition for the prestigious National Science Foundation doctoral fellowships, which pay most educational expenses through the PhD at a university of your choice. An additional 7 Olin students and alumni received honorable mentions in this national competition. And 3 students here in this class, in each of these categories of having won the award and having been chosen for honorable mention, are members of the class of 2010. Given the very small size of Olin, this must be one of the most successful records in the country for NSF fellowships. In addition, 7 members of the class have accepted engineering positions at Microsoft Corporation. This is the largest number of Olin students from one graduating class to join a single firm in Olin's short history. Now, I'm not exactly sure what to make of this. Are you planning to take over Microsoft? Is that... You're certainly leaving your mark on Olin. As a class, you've done a great job of completing the first step towards success in your career, obtaining a solid education. Now, as you transition out of the Olin bubble, here are a couple of things to think about. Although you're only the 5th graduating class here at Olin, and Olin is not yet a household word in America, it's now widely recognized within the engineering education field. Olin took center stage last year and again this year in leading the nation's engineering schools and preparing leaders for the National Academy of Engineering's grand challenges. These are complex global issues that are essential for security, sustainability, health, and the joy of living throughout the planet. Educating leaders for these challenges will require a new way of thinking to enable engineers who first and foremost have a deep understanding and mastery of the natural sciences and mathematics with the ability to work and lead in teams across disciplines, across time zones, and across political boundaries. While we emphasize these new ways of entrepreneurial and design thinking, don't ever forget the enormous power of your technical preparation. In the end, it's the transformational effect of technological change that is most responsible for the profound changes we've seen in the last century. Changes like clean drinking water throughout America. This is largely responsible for increasing the lifespan in the U.S. by more than 30 years. Also, electrification, the radio, the automobile, the airplane, computer, the internet, and so on and so on. Today, we can scarcely remember what life was like before these engineering inventions changed the planet. These are your legacy as engineers. I'm confident that one of you will be involved in another technological innovation that will change lives and make a positive difference in the world. Now, we've worked hard at Olin to prepare you in ways that are different from the traditional. Olin programs like SCOPE, EXPO, UOCD, FIBI, and others are intended to build new ways of seeing the world and to develop habits and skills of acting on what you see in order to change it. However, you will soon discover, if you haven't already, that these differences will set you apart from your colleagues in the workplace or in graduate school. Don't be surprised if sometimes you feel different from the others around you. Sometimes you will see things that others don't see. In fact, we very much hope that this is what will happen. And when this happens, it's almost as if you are the first person in the world who can see in color. Now think about how frustrating that would be. No one else in the world had ever seen things in color. There would be no words to describe colors like red, yellow, green, and blue because there'd never been a need for them. The more excited you become about the beauty of the flowers in the spring, the more strange you appear to those around you who simply can't see the colors at all. Now, there are consequences to being creative and innovative, and you may not always be understood or be popular as a result of what you see. It isn't always comfortable, but it's always been this way. Innovation has never been for the faint of heart. For example, one of my favorite quotes, one that I've had in my office at Olin since the earliest of days, is as follows: There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. For the reformer has enemies in all those who profit by the old order, and only lukewarm defenders in all those who could profit by the new order. This lukewarmness arising partly from fear of their adversaries, and partly from the incredulity of men who do not believe in anything new until they've had actual experience of it. Now, this is a quote from Niccolo Machiavelli in his book, The Prince, which was first published in 1513, almost 500 years ago. So these consequences of dealing with change have been around for a while. So take heart. Never doubt yourself. Expect to use the fact that you see things that others don't see. Be patient and perseverant. Never give up. Plan to exceed your own expectations and dream big. Commit yourself now to making a positive difference in the world and focus on the grand challenges of our time. Don't waste your time on problems that are not worthy of your best efforts. Let me leave you with the words of that famous American philosopher and poet, Dr. Seuss. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own. You know what you know. You are the guys who will decide where to go. Godspeed to all of you.
Thank you, Rick. I would now like to introduce William R. Norden, Chairman of the Board of Trustees.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Franklin W. Olin College of Engineering, greetings, welcome, and congratulations to the class of 2010, their parents, other family members, and friends. Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "Be sincere, be brief, and be seated." So I'll see if I can do all those three things. It was more than 40 years ago when I first began to do legal work for Olin Foundation in connection with its grants for the construction of academic buildings at colleges and universities across the nation. It was probably about 21 or 22 years ago when most members of this graduating class were born into a world that was very different from the world of today. Even the vocabulary was different. There were very few cell phones. Think back to 1989. Virtually no laptops. There was no Facebook, Google, blog, Skype, iPhone, iPad, eBay, YouTube, Jamba Juice. Blackberries came in a box, and Spam came in a can. It was 10 years ago this month, May 1st, 2000, when I stood on top of the hill back there with the other directors of the Olin Foundation and Rick Miller, and we broke ground on the first new 4-year college to be created in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in more than half a century. It was in May 2006, just 4 years ago this month, that Olin graduated its first class. And a few months later, in August of 2006, the class of 2010 began their studies at the college. If you're a history buff, you might want to know that it was in 2006 when the first Twitter tweet was sent. Obviously, the world has become a better place since then. It is hard for any of us to imagine what changes and advances the world will see in the years ahead. Yet I know that members of this graduating class will drive some of those changes and introduce new terms into our everyday language. The parents of the members of the class in 2010 are very proud of their children's achievements, and the directors of the Olin Foundation and trustees of Olin College are equally proud of what the college has achieved in the past 10 years. Olin College's place in American higher education after so brief a time far exceeds anything that we might have imagined when we broke ground up there 10 years ago. For this great success story, which continues to be written, we owe thanks to Olin College's outstanding faculty, leadership, staff. We owe thanks to the support of many diverse constituencies, including the parents and families of Olin students. And we owe thanks to the incredible students who have come here to innovate and be the engine that has already contributed to the advancement of engineering education in America and around the world. It is the hope of the Board of Trustees of this college that it has instilled in you not just a world-class engineering education, but also a true appreciation of the role of philanthropy. As the class of 2010 leaves the Olin bubble, they should endeavor to abide by the college's founding precepts and, quote, do good for humankind. It was the wealth of Franklin W. Olin and the hard work of many individuals that bring us together today. So, as you embark upon what we know will be a productive, successful, and happy life in the years ahead, I urge you to be philanthropic with both your time and your wealth. I hope I lived up to President Roosevelt's admonition. Congratulations to the class of 2010 and your families. We look forward to seeing all of you as frequent visitors to the college. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I'd now like to introduce Jeffrey Moore, who will bring greetings from the class of 2010.
Friends, families, alumni, staff and faculty, President Miller, Chairman Norden, and other distinguished guests, on behalf of the class of 2010, welcome to our commencement, the fifth in Olin's history. You know, they don't really put this in the program, but in addition to that excellent greeting you all just received, my job is to convince you that our class is just as exciting as all the classes that came before us. I mean, think about it. We're number 5. If ever a class were going to suffer middle child syndrome, it would be us. So, on behalf of my class, let me tell you why we matter. For one, we're bigger than everyone else. With 93 students listed on our commencement program, we are the largest graduating class in Olin's history. So even if we are less exciting than the previous classes, we can still beat them up. More importantly, however, we showed up the year after the partner class graduated. Unlike our predecessors, we did not attend an Olin that was sparkly fresh, but an Olin in its awkward teenage years, facing the harsh reality of growing up. It fell on our class as a class to remind Olin that, though it was no longer new, it should never grow old. You see, the class of 2010 entered a school that, only months before our arrival, had already achieved its most important milestone to date. It was recognized as an official college by Facebook. Within a year, Niask and Abet, realizing that they were late to the party, also decided to legitimize our existence. That left our class in a difficult position. The curriculum was written, the partners were gone, and Olin was no longer new. We came here to build a college and instead found that the college had already been built. It was like receiving the most awesome Lego set ever, only to have it come pre-assembled. The class of 2010, however, decided that it was going to build a college anyway. As in any self-respecting teenage phase, we blew everything out of proportion. Despite the first class having just completed the original curriculum, our class determined that the entire program of study needed to be rewritten from the ground up. We decided that any course older than 3 years should be tossed. Heck, we even thought the Mark and John show needed a little spice. I can only guess that the poor administration and faculty members that have had to deal with this change or die mentality for the last 4 years are secretly breathing a much-deserved sigh of relief. On the other hand, I should hope that the younger students sitting in this tent won't be any picnic either. Such an innovation or exploration mindset led us to do some crazy and, as older classes have told me, often annoying things. For one, we decided to overwhelm student organizations with our presence, filling 38% of all the school-wide leadership positions available to us. We also became omnipresent in faculty and administration committees, president's council meetings, and any program whose title contained the words new, different, change, innovation, pedagogy, 2.0, collaborative, Olin, shiny, or the. What's more, members of our incoming and graduating classes, and yes, these are different sets of people, also played significant roles in many specific Olin innovations, including the movement to get student-taught courses to count for credit and the LATE education program, that is, leave of absence, total experience. In the end, though, our specific actions do not matter. They will be innovated away by the far more capable students succeeding us. What matters is the message we try to send with our time here. Even when Olin is not new, it should never be old. We can only hope that this message will resonate as much with the students we will never know as it did with us. Once again, on behalf of the class of 2010, thank you for sharing this day and this celebration with us.
Thanks, Jeff. I would now like to introduce Robert Martello, who will bring greetings from the faculty and staff of Olin College.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here on behalf of the faculty and staff to offer my greetings to you, to everyone whose presence here makes you an important participant in this milestone event. Today, we are all connected by magnificent paradoxes. We are here to celebrate an ending that is also a beginning. I'm sure many of us feel both happy and sad. I offer you a greeting that's also a farewell. And if I continue with these cliches, my speech, though brief, will seem to last for an eternity. But students, I actually have a parting gift for you. Today, I will answer your biggest questions. Questions about Olin that have been gathered from your exit interviews and surveys over the past few weeks. These questions reach into the innermost secrets of our college, but by passing scope, you have earned the right to learn this truth. Oh yes. Oh yes, indeed. All right, let's begin. The first question was a personal one, actually, directed at me, but I think it still offers a valuable learning opportunity. The question, Rob, your book about Paul Revere sounds awesome. Have you considered plugging it at commencement? The answer? The answer? Absolutely not. Olin's honor code, as well as my personal morals, prohibit me from exploiting this great platform. Yes, I realize that many people are probably interested in learning about my upcoming book titled Midnight Ride Industrial Dawn. But I would never demean myself by trumpeting its publication information, such as the fact that it's coming out this fall from Johns Hopkins University Press. Nor would I ever think of mentioning the fact that you can pre-order it on Amazon.com right now. Such an action would be crass, nay, it would be reprehensible. Ethics, we don't just teach it, we live it. Question 2, and I have to quote this one. Do you know those registration groups that have ruled our lives every semester whenever we choose our classes? How does Olin form those groups? Answer, when you first arrived at Olin, we did some personality profiling, and we separated you into nerds and geeks. We put the nerds in registration group 1 and the geeks in group 2. It's simple. By the way, we even carried these categories into commencement planning. The nerds are seated to my left, the geeks to my right, and in the center, this group of students represents that rare blend of nerdity and geekdom. We also tried to arrange the faculty into nerd and geek groups, but it just didn't work. The faculty basically all fall into one category. They are old. Oh man, if looks could kill, this speech would be over right now. You have no idea how much I'm about to pay for that joke. Okay. All right, the final question is actually a compilation of questions, very related questions. Why, after all these years, is life still so crazy at Olin? Shouldn't you guys have figured this out already? Why does the catalog change so radically every year? Why do we force students to take experimental classes that always need massive debugging? Why do we have so many unstructured projects that adversely affect our sanity? The answer to all these questions is because we want you to fail. But this time I'm serious. Failure gets a lot of bad press, but it deserves some love. I'm not advocating pointless risk-taking, not that kind of fail, but Olin wants its graduates to push envelopes, to push yourselves and change the world. And when you do these things, sometimes you fail. Then you learn from the failure, you grow, you try again, and you succeed. This is obvious, right? Well, maybe it is obvious, but you Olin students are in a difficult position right now. You're a bit too talented, you're very sharp, and you're a bit too good at just about everything you do. The problem is you're really skilled at succeeding. And success is addicting. Success is that shiny new car that you just don't want to tarnish with rain or dirt. It's too easy to just keep it in the garage, play it safe. So this is my final Olin secret to share with you. We have tried our best to help you to fail in the right way over the past 4 years. And you did not make it easy for us. You guys are scary good at what you do. But we pushed you, at times you failed, and in the end you succeeded. Here you are. And as weird as it may sound, all of us are hoping in the years to come to hear that you are still failing, because that means you're really living. So what are you waiting for? Take that shiny new car out, give it a spin. Challenge assumptions, ask difficult questions. Apply for jobs and for honors that you probably won't get. Swing at those fastballs, sign up for karaoke contests, and introduce yourself to that hot person across the room who's probably out of your league. And when you fail, fail big. Go down in flames, have a laugh, brush yourself off, and try again. I'm going to end the same way that I started. Every ending is a beginning. Although we are sad to think of an Olin without you, we rejoice when we imagine the happiness and adventures, the successes and failures that await you on the other side of this bubble. Seize the day, my friends, and thank you very much.